world was only moments away from signing a truce that would reopen the Strait of Hormuz and restore oil flows to global markets. Negotiators in Geneva were wiping sweat from their brows. Mediators in Islamabad were preparing victory statements. Oil markets had finally begun to stabilize after 3 months of severe volatility. Then suddenly, Trump called his advisors. An emergency meeting was convened at the White House. It lasted 2 full hours. When it ended, Trump emerged with his now familiar phrase. The following day, a revised version of the agreement arrived in Tehran, and the news was far from encouraging. The draft that everyone had described as final and ready for signature disappeared entirely. In its place came 3 new conditions that Iranian officials described as unrealistic. This is not a dramatic story. It is a reflection of American diplomacy during the Trump era. Today, we tell the story of just 1 week in the life of a highly unpredictable president. A story of how Trump can shift positions between a social media post and a television interview, and how such shifts may carry significant global consequences. Only days earlier, on May 23rd, President Donald Trump appeared in a very different mood. Standing before reporters at the White House, he delivered encouraging news. He added that a 60-day ceasefire was within reach and that reopening the Strait of Hormuz to international shipping was imminent. Mediators breathed a sigh of relief. Oil prices, which had been fluctuating sharply, began to stabilize around $92 per barrel. Republicans in Congress started preparing victory messages for their election campaigns. Then came Friday, May 29th. At 3:00 p.m. Washington time, a meeting was held in the White House Situation Room. Present were Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, and National Security Advisor Kash Patel. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Afterward, reporters were informed that Trump wanted stronger language in the agreement. What changed between Thursday and Friday, between optimism and sudden retreat? White House officials have not said. Diplomatic sources, however, indicate that Trump received a call from a regional ally whose identity remains undisclosed, raising concerns about potential loopholes in the agreement. From that moment, Trump began asking for more, and then even more. He demanded stronger guarantees regarding the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, ensuring Iran could not close it again in the future. He sought tougher provisions on Iran's nuclear program, moving beyond a temporary freeze toward complete dismantlement. He also insisted that Iran should receive no direct cash payments under the deal, citing concerns about repeating what he criticized in the 2015 Obama-era nuclear agreement. And just like that, an entire week of difficult negotiations unraveled in a single day. In Tehran, the response was swift. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, Speaker of Iran's parliament and head of the Iranian negotiating team in talks with the United States, left little room for ambiguity. In a post on X, he wrote, "In other words, Iran is unwilling to sign an agreement simply because Trump wants one. Tehran wants concrete results before making concessions, and if those results are not delivered, no agreement." According to Iranian sources, Tehran is seeking the immediate release of $12 billion in frozen Iranian assets as an initial step, legal guarantees preventing any future U.S. president from withdrawing from the deal, as Trump himself did in 2018, the lifting of maritime restrictions on Iranian ports before any nuclear-related measures. The same sources rejected Trump's claim that financial matters were not under discussion, stressing that economic issues remain at the core of negotiations. Meanwhile, mediators, particularly Pakistan, found themselves in an uncomfortable position. After months of facilitating communication between Washington and Tehran, much of their effort now appeared at risk because of a sudden change in the U.S. position. A Pakistani source speaking to Reuters summarized the situation bluntly. If the change in conditions was surprising, what happened next was even more remarkable. On May 31st, just 2 days after the White House meeting, Trump appeared on CNBC. During the interview, journalist Eamon Javers asked a direct question. Most expected an obvious answer. After all, failed negotiations could mean renewed conflict, rising oil prices, and potential political consequences. But Trump responded differently. He then added, "Consider the significance of that statement." The President of the United States, who deployed tens of thousands of troops to the Gulf, oversaw major military operations against Iranian capabilities, and confronted a crisis affecting a vital share of global oil supplies, described negotiations with a long-standing adversary as boring. Wall Street reacted immediately. Within minutes, crude oil prices surged by 4%, exceeding $101 per barrel for the first time in 3 weeks. Gasoline prices across the United States rose once again. Yet the biggest surprise came less than an hour later. Trump returned to Truth Social and posted, "Yes." In less than 60 minutes, Trump moved from "I don't care" to "a very good chance." Republicans were confused. Democrats called it irresponsible. Diplomats around the world struggled to interpret the message. In a single day, Trump helped drive oil prices higher and then calm markets again through 2 separate statements. Political analysts remain divided. One camp argues that this unpredictability is intentional. According to supporters of the Trump negotiating strategy, he raises expectations at the last moment and projects indifference to pressure opponents into offering additional concessions. From this perspective, Trump believes Iran needs a deal more than Washington does. Another camp sees something entirely different. Many analysts in Washington argue that these shifts are not strategic at all, but rather reflections of Trump's personal style. As the New York Times put it, he seeks quick results. When they fail to materialize, he changes course. When he changes course, the conditions change. And when the conditions change, negotiations become more difficult. There is also the issue of domestic pressure. During the same week, Trump faced criticism from hardliners within his administration who favor maximum pressure on Iran and oppose any agreement that falls short of complete dismantlement of its nuclear and missile programs. At the same time, he was dealing with the freezing of a $1.8 billion bonus fund following a court ruling, growing criticism over fuel prices, polls showing his approval rating at 37%, the lowest of his second term. Against this backdrop, Iran once again became the central focus. Trump said the deal was largely complete, then changed course 48 hours later. He demanded 3 new conditions: stronger guarantees, full dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program, and no financial payments. He declared, "I don't care," then shortly afterwards spoke of a very good chance for an agreement. Oil prices jumped and then stabilized, all within a single day. The question remains, how does this story end? One possibility is that Iran offers concessions that satisfy Trump. A longer nuclear freeze perhaps, or broader discussions regarding missile programs. Trump could then announce a historic agreement from the White House. Oil prices could fall below $80 per barrel. Republicans could celebrate a major political victory. The alternative is that both sides remain firm. Iran insists on its demands, Trump insists on his, negotiations collapse, military escalation returns, and the conflict enters a more dangerous phase. What seems increasingly difficult to imagine is the continuation of this cycle of oscillation between boredom and optimism, between indifference and enthusiasm, between social media posts and televised interviews. Because when the leader of the world's most powerful nation signals indifference, while dealing with a regional rival capable of disrupting global markets, the consequences may extend far beyond political rhetoric. The cost may not simply be another failed negotiation. It could be a new conflict, a humanitarian crisis, or a prolonged period of instability whose consequences reach far beyond the region. And the question that remains is, will Trump recognize that before it is too late?
Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to receive all our new videos. See you in the next video.